Have you ever noticed that when life gets hard, some people completely fall apart, while others somehow become even stronger? It's easy to think they were born different, that they have more confidence, more talent, or simply better luck. But what if that's not true? What if mental toughness isn't something you're born with, but something you build, one habit at a time? Because the strongest people you admire don't wake up every morning feeling fearless. They feel doubt. They feel stress. They experience failure just like everyone else. The difference is what they choose to do next. They've developed habits that keep them moving forward when others give up. Habits that turn obstacles into opportunities. Habits that allow them to stay calm, under pressure, and focused when everything around them is falling apart. And here's the exciting part. These habits aren't reserved for extraordinary people. They're available to anyone willing to practice them consistently. So in today's speech, we're going to uncover the secret habits of mentally tough people, the daily mindset shifts that separate those who merely survive from those who thrive. Let's begin. Have you ever noticed how much energy people spend wishing reality were different? We tell ourselves that life should be easier, that people should treat us better, that success should come faster, or that problems shouldn't happen to us. We fight against situations we cannot change, hoping that frustration alone will somehow rewrite the facts. But reality doesn't respond to complaints. It doesn't negotiate with denial. It simply remains what it is. Mentally tough people understand this better than anyone else. They don't waste precious time arguing with reality. Instead, they accept it, understand it, and immediately begin asking the only question that truly matters. What can I do now? Acceptance is often misunderstood. Many people believe accepting reality means giving up, settling for less, or admitting defeat. In truth, acceptance is the complete opposite. Acceptance is the moment you stop wasting energy on what cannot be changed and redirect that energy toward what can be influenced. It isn't surrender, it's clarity. It is the decision to face the truth with open eyes instead of hiding behind excuses, denial, or false hope. Think about a sailor caught in a powerful storm. The sailor cannot command the wind to stop or the waves to calm down. Fighting the ocean is impossible. But by accepting the weather as it is, the sailor can adjust the sails, change direction, and navigate safely. The storm doesn't become less dangerous, but the response becomes smarter. Life works the same way. The faster you accept reality, the faster you regain control over your choices. One of the greatest sources of suffering isn't the problem itself. It's our refusal to accept that the problem exists. We spend days, weeks, or even years asking, why did this happen to me? We replay conversations, blame circumstances, and imagine alternate versions of the past. Meanwhile, time keeps moving. Opportunities pass by while our attention remains trapped in something we cannot reverse. Mentally tough people refuse to become prisoners of the past. They acknowledge disappointment without allowing it to define their future. They understand that every minute spent resisting reality is a minute stolen from building a better tomorrow. They recognize that life doesn't reward those who complain the longest. It rewards those who adapt the fastest. Consider someone who loses a job unexpectedly. One person may spend months blaming the economy, criticizing former employers, and waiting for justice. Another person feels the same disappointment, but quickly accepts the situation. They update their skills, improve their resume, reach out to new opportunities, and continue moving forward. Both experience the same event, but their responses created completely different futures. The event didn't determine the outcome. Their acceptance did. Acceptance also requires honesty. Honest people are willing to admit when they made mistakes. They don't hide behind excuses because excuses may protect pride, but they destroy growth.
Every excuse builds a wall between who you are and who you could become. Mentally tough people choose responsibility over comfort because responsibility gives them power. The moment you accept your role in a situation, you also gain the ability to improve it. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. Some situations are completely outside your control. People may betray you. Businesses may fail. Economies may change. Health challenges may appear without warning. Acceptance doesn't mean pretending these events are fair. It simply means recognizing that fairness isn't a requirement for moving forward. Waiting for life to become fair only delays your progress. Emotion is another area where acceptance becomes incredibly important. Many people believe they should never feel fear, anxiety, sadness, or self-doubt. So when these emotions appear, they panic. They assume something is wrong with them. Mentally tough people understand that emotions are natural. Feeling fear doesn't make you weak. Feeling sadness doesn't make you broken. These emotions are part of being human. Accepting them allows you to manage them instead of being controlled by them. Imagine trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push it down, the stronger it pushes back. Eventually, it bursts out of the water with even greater force. Emotions often behave the same way. Suppressing them completely rarely works. Accepting that they exist gives you the freedom to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Acceptance also protects your focus. Every person has limited mental energy each day. If you spend that energy worrying about things beyond your control, you'll have very little left for meaningful action. Mentally tough people guard their attention carefully. They refuse to let uncontrollable events dominate their thoughts. Instead, they ask themselves, what is the next useful step I can take? This simple question transforms frustration into progress. There is incredible strength in saying, this is the situation. I may not like it, but I will deal with it. Those words remove the illusion that life owes us perfect circumstances. They replace helplessness with purpose. They shift our mindset from victim to problem solver. History is filled with individuals who achieved extraordinary things despite enormous obstacles. They faced rejection, failure, financial hardship, criticism, and uncertainty. Their success didn't come because life was easier for them. It came because they accepted difficult realities sooner than others and adjusted their actions accordingly. Instead of demanding a different world, they learned how to succeed within the one they had. Acceptance is a daily habit rather than a one-time decision. Every day presents situations you didn't choose. Delays, criticism, unexpected setbacks, difficult conversations, and disappointing outcomes are all part of life. You can spend your day resisting each one, or you can acknowledge it quickly and move toward the next productive action. Over time, these small moments of acceptance create extraordinary resilience. The strongest people aren't those who avoid hardship. They're the ones who stop arguing with reality, face challenges with clear eyes, and keep moving forward despite discomfort. They understand that reality is always the starting point for meaningful change, because no lasting progress can ever begin until the truth is fully accepted. Every single day, there's a conversation happening inside your mind. It begins the moment you wake up and continues until you fall asleep. Sometimes it's encouraging, but more often, it becomes your biggest source of doubt. It tells you that you're not ready, not talented enough, not smart enough, or that someone else is better than you. This voice doesn't shout, it whispers. And because it sounds like your own thoughts, you begin to believe it. Mentally tough people understand one powerful truth. The quality of your life is deeply influenced by the quality of your inner dialogue. Most people spend years trying to control the world around them while completely ignoring the voice within. They believe confidence comes from external success, recognition, or approval. But confidence actually begins long before any achievement. It starts with the way you speak to yourself during moments of uncertainty. If your inner voice constantly tells you that failure is inevitable, your actions will slowly begin to reflect that belief. If your mind convinces you that every obstacle is impossible, you'll stop trying before you've truly started. Think about two people facing the exact same challenge. Both are equally skilled, equally prepared, and equally capable. One tells himself, "This is going to be difficult, but I'll figure it out." The other says, "I'm probably going to fail. I always mess things up." Their circumstances are identical, yet their mindset immediately creates different outcomes. One approaches the challenge with determination. The other approaches it with fear. The conversation inside their minds shapes the decisions they make before reality even has a chance to respond. Your brain is constantly listening to the words you repeat. Whether they're spoken aloud or silently in your thoughts, they become instructions. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you're unlucky, weak, or incapable, your mind starts searching for evidence to support those beliefs. Soon, every setback becomes proof that you were right all along. But when you replace destructive thoughts with constructive ones, your brain begins looking for solutions instead of excuses. Mentally tough people don't pretend everything is perfect. They don't lie to themselves by saying life is easy or that problems don't exist. Instead, they choose honest optimism. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," they say, "I haven't mastered this yet." Instead of thinking, "This failure defines me," they think, "This failure is teaching me." It's not about denying reality. It's about choosing language that keeps the door open for growth. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing every thought that enters their mind. But not every thought deserves your trust. Thoughts are automatic. They are influenced by past experiences, fears, emotions, and even temporary stress. Just because your mind says something doesn't mean it's true. Mentally tough people learn to question negative thoughts instead of accepting them as facts. They pause and ask, "Is this thought helping me or is it holding me back?" Imagine your mind as a room where many voices are speaking at once. Some encourage you, others criticize you. If you allow the loudest negative voice to control the room, every decision becomes harder. But when you consciously choose which voice deserves your attention, you take back control. Mental toughness isn't about silencing every negative thought. It's about refusing to let those thoughts become your identity. Your inner dialogue becomes even more important during failure. Success has a way of making everyone feel confident, but failure reveals how you truly think. Some people fail once and immediately label themselves as failures. They confuse an event with an identity. They don't say, "I failed." They say, "I am a failure." Those two sentences may sound similar, but they create completely different realities. The first describes a temporary outcome. The second creates a permanent belief. Mentally tough people separate who they are from what happened. They understand that making a mistake doesn't erase their potential. They recognize that every successful person has experienced setbacks, rejection, embarrassment, and disappointment. Instead of allowing failure to damage their self-worth, they allow it to strengthen their understanding. The words you use with yourself should be the same words you would use with someone you genuinely care about. Imagine a close friend telling you they made a mistake at work or failed an important exam. You probably wouldn't call them worthless or tell them to give up forever. You would remind them that one setback doesn't define their future. Yet, many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to anyone else. They become their own harshest critic, expecting perfection while offering themselves no compassion. Self-compassion doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means recognizing that growth requires patience. The strongest people don't constantly attack themselves for every mistake. They hold themselves accountable while also giving themselves permission to learn. This balance allows them to recover faster because they aren't wasting energy fighting themselves. Another habit of mentally tough people is replacing emotional reactions with purposeful questions. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" they ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of saying, "Everything is falling apart," they ask, "What's the next step I can take?" Questions, direct your attention. Better questions lead to better answers. The quality of your thinking often depends on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Gratitude also changes your inner dialogue in powerful ways. When your mind constantly focuses on what's missing, you'll always feel like you're falling behind. But when you regularly acknowledge what you already have, your health, your knowledge, your opportunities, your relationships, you train your brain to notice abundance instead of scarcity. This doesn't mean ignoring ambition. It means building ambition on a foundation of appreciation instead of dissatisfaction. Mentally tough people also understand that comparison poisons the inner voice. Social media makes it easy to compare your everyday life with someone else's highlight reel. The more you compare, the more your inner dialogue becomes filled with insecurity. You start measuring your progress against people whose journey, struggles, and circumstances you don't even know. Instead, mentally resilient individuals compare themselves to the person they were yesterday. Their goal isn't to be better than everyone else. Their goal is to become a better version of themselves. The conversation you have with yourself becomes your emotional environment. If that environment is filled with fear, criticism, and hopelessness, it becomes difficult to take courageous action. But when your inner dialogue is grounded in responsibility, patience, resilience, and belief, you create a mindset that supports growth even during difficult times. Every challenge becomes easier to face because the voice inside your mind becomes a coach instead of a critic, reminding you that while you cannot always control what happens around you, you can always choose the words that shape what happens within you. Failure has a reputation that it doesn't deserve. Most people see it as the opposite of success, something to avoid at all costs. They fear making mistakes because they believe failure is proof that they are not talented enough, intelligent enough, or capable enough. As a result, they play it safe. They avoid risks, hesitate to try new things, and stay inside their comfort zones. But mentally tough people see failure through a completely different lens. They don't treat it as a verdict on their potential. They treat it as feedback, a source of information that points them toward improvement. Every meaningful achievement is built on a series of mistakes. No athlete becomes a champion without losing competitions. No entrepreneur builds a successful business without failed ideas. No artist creates masterpieces without producing work that falls short. The path to excellence has never been a straight line. It's filled with wrong turns, unexpected setbacks, and lessons that can only be learned through experience. The difference is that mentally tough people refuse to let failure become the end of the story. Imagine trying to learn how to ride a bicycle. The first few attempts are usually awkward. You lose your balance, wobble from side to side, and probably fall more than once. No one expects a child to ride perfectly on the first attempt because falling is part of learning. Yet as adults, we often expect ourselves to succeed immediately. If something doesn't work the first time, we assume we're simply not good enough. We forget that the same principle still applies. Progress often looks messy before it looks impressive. One of the biggest reasons people fear failure is because they attach their identity to the outcome. They don't think, my plan failed. They think, I failed. Those are two completely different statements. A failed attempt is temporary. A failure as an identity is permanent. Mentally tough people separate themselves from the result. They understand that one unsuccessful attempt says nothing about their value as a person. It simply provides information about what didn't work. Think about a scientist conducting an experiment. If the experiment doesn't produce the expected result, the scientist doesn't throw away years of education or decide to quit forever. Instead, the unexpected outcome becomes valuable data. It reveals something that wasn't known before. Adjustments are made, new ideas are tested, and another experiment begins. This mindset transforms disappointment into discovery. Life works the same way. Every setback contains information. If you're willing to study it, instead of running from it. Failure often reveals weaknesses that success hides. When everything goes well, it's easy to assume you're doing everything correctly. But challenges expose gaps in your preparation, habits, and thinking. They show you where improvement is needed. While this can feel uncomfortable, it's actually a gift. You cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. Mentally tough people welcome honest feedback because they understand that awareness is the first step toward growth. Many people become defensive when they receive criticism. They immediately explain, justify, or blame someone else. Their goal is to protect their pride instead of improving their performance. Mentally resilient individuals take a different approach. They listen carefully. They ask questions. They search for truth, even when it's uncomfortable. They know that constructive criticism, although difficult to hear, often provides the fastest path to becoming better. This doesn't mean accepting every opinion as fact. Not all criticism is useful. Some people criticize because of jealousy, misunderstanding, or negativity. Mental toughness means learning to separate emotional opinions from valuable insights. If feedback helps you grow, use it. If it doesn't, let it go without allowing it to damage your confidence. One failed attempt should never become a reason to stop pursuing your goals. Yet many dreams end after the very first setback. A rejected application convinces someone they'll never get hired. A failed business convinces an entrepreneur they'll never succeed. One poor presentation makes someone believe they're terrible at public speaking. They make permanent decisions based on temporary experiences. Mentally tough people resist this temptation. They understand that failure is rarely final unless you decide it is. Toughness doesn't mean repeating the same mistake over and over again. It means learning from each attempt and making adjustments. Imagine trying to unlock a door with the wrong key. Trying the same key 100 times won't help. But examining the lock, choosing a different key, and trying another approach dramatically increases your chances of success. Feedback only becomes valuable when it changes your future actions. Every mistake carries a lesson, but only if you're willing to ask the right questions, instead of asking, "Why am I so bad at this?" Mentally tough people ask, "What specifically went wrong?" Instead of saying, "This will never work," they ask, "What can I improve before my next attempt?" These questions shift attention away from self-judgment and toward practical solutions. There is another hidden benefit to failure that many people overlook. It builds resilience. Every time you recover from disappointment, you become slightly stronger than before. Challenges teach patience. Rejection teaches perseverance. Mistakes teach humility. None of these qualities can be developed in complete comfort. Just as muscles grow stronger by overcoming resistance, character grows stronger by overcoming adversity. Some of the most successful people in history experienced repeated failures before achieving extraordinary results. They were rejected, criticized, ignored, and underestimated. Their success didn't come because they avoided failure. It came because they refused to let failure define them. Each setback became another lesson, another adjustment, another opportunity to improve. They understood that every unsuccessful attempt brought them one step closer to discovering what actually worked. Fear of failure often creates a much bigger problem than failure itself. It convinces people not to try at all. Dreams remain ideas because fear prevents action. Talents remain hidden because perfection is expected before progress begins. Opportunities disappear because hesitation replaces courage. Mentally tough people understand that taking imperfect action is always more valuable than endless preparation driven by fear. Growth requires the willingness to be uncomfortable. Every new skill begins with uncertainty. Every ambitious goal includes moments of struggle. Every meaningful journey contains obstacles that test your commitment. Instead of seeing these moments as signs to quit, mentally resilient people recognize them as signs that they're expanding beyond their current limits. They also understand that success itself is a form of feedback. Achievements reveal what habits, decisions, and strategies are working well. Just as failure teaches what to change, success teaches what to continue. The key is remaining curious in both situations. Whether the outcome is positive or negative, there is always something to learn. The strongest individuals are not those who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to waste a failure. They examine it, learn from it, adapt because of it, and return with greater wisdom than they had before. Every setback becomes a classroom, every mistake becomes a lesson, and every disappointment becomes an opportunity to build the knowledge, resilience, and experience that cannot be gained any other way. Motivation is a wonderful feeling, but it is one of the most unreliable forces in life. Some mornings you wake up energized, excited, and ready to chase your goals. Everything feels possible. Your confidence is high, your focus is sharp, and taking action seems effortless. But then there are other days when that excitement disappears. You feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. The same goal that inspired you yesterday suddenly feels heavy today. This is where most people stop. They mistake the absence of motivation as a sign that they should wait for a better moment. Mentally tough people understand a powerful truth. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what keeps it moving. Think about the difference between weather and climate. Weather changes every day. One day it's sunny, the next day it's stormy. Motivation works the same way. It comes and goes depending on your mood, your energy, your circumstances, or even how much sleep you got the night before. Discipline, however, is like climate. It remains steady despite temporary changes. It doesn't depend on emotions. It depends on commitment. Most people believe successful individuals accomplish more because they always feel inspired. In reality, the opposite is often true. The most successful people have simply learned how to work, even when they don't feel like it. They don't wait for perfect emotions before taking action. They take action first, knowing that motivation often follows movement rather than creating it. Imagine a professional athlete preparing for an important competition. There will be mornings when the athlete feels exhausted, sore, or mentally drained. If training depended entirely on motivation, progress would stop every time those feelings appeared. Instead, champions rely on routines. They train because it's scheduled, not because they always feel excited. Over months and years, these consistent actions create extraordinary results. Discipline is the ability to keep promises you make to yourself. Every goal begins with a decision. You promise yourself that you'll exercise regularly, study every day, build a business, save money, or develop a new skill. But every day, life offers opportunities to break those promises. There will always be distractions, excuses, unexpected challenges, and moments when comfort seems more attractive than progress. Mentally tough people recognize these moments as tests of character rather than reasons to quit. One of the greatest lies people tell themselves is, "I'll do it when I feel ready." The problem is that feeling ready is unpredictable. Confidence often grows after action, not before it. Waiting for perfect motivation can turn days into months and months into years. Dreams remain unfinished because action is postponed again and again. Discipline breaks this cycle by replacing feelings with decisions. Small actions performed consistently are far more powerful than occasional bursts of effort. Many people work incredibly hard for a few days, then lose momentum and stop completely. They believe success requires dramatic effort. Mentally resilient people understand that consistency beats intensity. Reading 10 pages every day is more effective than reading 100 pages once a month. Saving a small amount regularly builds wealth more reliably than making one large deposit once in a while. Practicing a skill every day creates mastery far faster than practicing only when inspiration appears. Discipline also protects you from emotions that can easily lead you astray. Everyone experiences boredom, frustration, fear, and self-doubt. If emotions become the leader of your decisions, your progress will constantly rise and fall. One difficult day could erase weeks of momentum. Mentally tough people allow emotions to exist without allowing them to take control. They acknowledge how they feel, but they continue doing what needs to be done. This doesn't mean ignoring your health or pushing yourself to exhaustion. True discipline includes wisdom. It means resting when rest improves performance, not because you're avoiding responsibility. It means taking care of your body and mind so that consistency becomes sustainable over the long term. Burnout is not discipline. Sustainable effort is. Habits play an essential role in developing discipline. Every repeated action eventually becomes easier because your brain begins to automate it. At first, waking up early may require tremendous effort. Exercising daily may feel uncomfortable. Studying after work may seem exhausting. But with repetition, these actions become part of your identity. They require less mental energy because they transform from decisions into habits. Mentally tough people don't rely on willpower alone. They build environments that make disciplined choices easier. They remove distractions before distractions remove their focus. If they want to read more, they keep books within reach instead of spending hours scrolling through their phones. If they want to eat healthier, they prepare nutritious meals instead of filling their homes with unhealthy temptations. They understand that success is often shaped by the systems they create rather than the emotions they experience. For another important aspect of discipline is learning to delay gratification. Human nature seeks immediate comfort. We naturally prefer entertainment over hard work, relaxation over effort, and short-term pleasure over long-term rewards. But nearly every meaningful achievement requires sacrificing immediate comfort for future success. Students study for years before earning a degree. Entrepreneurs invest countless hours before seeing profits. Athletes endure painful training sessions before standing on the podium. Mentally tough people constantly remind themselves of the bigger picture. When faced with a choice between temporary comfort and lasting progress, they ask themselves which decision their future self will appreciate. This simple shift in perspective helps them stay committed, even when motivation fades. Discipline also strengthens self-respect. Every time you follow through on a promise you made to yourself, you build trust in your own character. You begin to believe that your words have value because your actions consistently support them. On the other hand, every broken promise weakens that trust. If you repeatedly tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, eventually your own mind stops believing you. Confidence isn't built only by achieving goals. It's built by proving to yourself that you can be counted on. There will always be days when progress feels invisible. You may work hard without immediate results. Improvement may seem slow. Others may appear to move ahead faster than you. These moments tempt people to give up because they confuse slow progress with no progress. Mentally resilient individuals understand that meaningful growth often happens quietly. Just as a tree develops strong roots before reaching impressive heights, personal growth often occurs beneath the surface before becoming visible. Every disciplined action becomes a vote for the person you want to become. Every workout strengthens not only your body, but also your commitment. Every page you read expands not only your knowledge, but also your consistency. Every difficult task you complete despite lacking motivation reinforces the belief that your actions are guided by purpose rather than emotion. The strongest people are not those who always wake up inspired. They are the ones who continue showing up on ordinary days, difficult days, and discouraging days. They understand that feelings will always change, circumstances will always fluctuate, and motivation will always come and go. But discipline creates a steady path forward, allowing them to make progress long after temporary inspiration has disappeared. Every day, countless things compete for your attention. News headlines, social media opinions, unexpected problems. Other people's behavior, economic uncertainty, criticism, delays, and circumstances beyond your control constantly demand your emotional energy. It's easy to become overwhelmed because the human mind naturally tries to solve every problem it encounters. But mentally tough people have learned one of the most important habits for building resilience. They focus only on what they can control. This idea sounds simple, yet it changes everything. The moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself to invest your time and energy where it actually makes a difference. Many people spend hours worrying about situations they cannot change. They replay conversations that already happened, stress about future events that may never occur, or become angry over decisions made by other people. All of that mental effort feels productive, but it produces nothing except frustration and exhaustion. Imagine standing outside during heavy rain. You can become angry at the weather. You can complain that it isn't fair. You can wish the clouds would disappear. None of those reactions will stop the rain. But you can choose to carry an umbrella, wear appropriate clothing, or adjust your plans. The weather is outside your control. Your response is entirely within it. Life presents similar situations every single day. One of the greatest sources of anxiety is attempting to control outcomes instead of controlling actions. People become obsessed with whether they'll get the promotion, whether others will approve of them, whether their business will succeed, or whether every plan will work perfectly. While these outcomes matter, they are never fully within anyone's control. What you can control is your preparation, your attitude, your effort, your consistency, and your willingness to keep learning. Mentally tough people understand this distinction. They stop measuring success only by results and begin measuring success by whether they gave their best effort. This mindset removes unnecessary pressure because they know they cannot guarantee every outcome, but they can always control the quality of their actions. Think about planting a seed. You can prepare the soil, water it regularly, provide sunlight, and protect it from damage. These are all within your control. But you cannot force the seed to grow faster by worrying about it. Nature follows its own timeline. In the same way, many goals require patience. You control the process. Results arrive when they're ready. Another area where people waste enormous amounts of energy is trying to control other people. We want others to understand us, appreciate us, agree with us, and behave according to our expectations. When they don't, disappointment quickly follows. Mentally resilient individuals recognize that every person has their own beliefs, experiences, emotions, and choices. Trying to control someone else's decisions is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. This doesn't mean you stop caring about relationships. It means you shift your attention toward the only part you truly own, your own behavior. You can communicate honestly. You can treat people with respect. You can listen carefully. You can set healthy boundaries. But you cannot force someone to respond the way you hope. Accepting this reality brings remarkable peace because your happiness no longer depends entirely on someone else's choices. Criticism is another challenge that tests mental toughness. No matter how kind, talented, or hardworking you are, someone will eventually misunderstand you or disagree with your actions. Many people spend endless hours trying to convince everyone to like them. They change their personality, hide their opinions, or constantly seek approval. Mentally tough people know that approval from everyone is impossible. Instead of trying to control what others think, they focus on living according to their values. This mindset creates freedom. When your self-worth depends on external opinions, every compliment makes you feel valuable, and every criticism makes you question yourself. But when your confidence comes from your character and your actions, outside opinions lose much of their power. You still listen to constructive feedback, but you no longer allow random negativity to control your emotions. Time is another resource that mentally tough people protect carefully. Every minute spent worrying about things beyond your influence is a minute that cannot be invested in meaningful action. Imagine having a limited amount of money each day. You would probably spend it carefully because once it's gone forever. Mental energy works exactly the same way. If you spend it on imaginary problems, endless comparisons, or uncontrollable events, you'll have very little left for the challenges that actually deserve your attention. Successful individuals often appear calm during stressful situations. This isn't because they experience fewer problems. It's because they've trained themselves to separate what they can influence from what they cannot. Instead of reacting emotionally to everything, they ask a simple question: is this within my control? If the answer is yes, they take action. If the answer is no, they practice acceptance and redirect their focus. This habit becomes especially valuable during unexpected setbacks. You may lose an opportunity, face rejection, experience financial difficulties, or encounter circumstances that feel unfair. Your first reaction might be frustration or disappointment, and those emotions are completely natural. But mentally resilient people don't stay trapped there. After acknowledging their feelings, they quickly shift toward productive action. They ask themselves what can still be done instead of dwelling endlessly on what cannot be changed. Focusing on what you can control also strengthens personal responsibility. It's easy to blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck when life becomes difficult. Blame may temporarily protect your pride, but it also removes your power. The moment everything becomes someone else's fault, improvement becomes someone else's responsibility. Mentally tough people refuse to surrender that power. Even in situations they didn't create, they ask what choices are still available to them. This attitude creates resilience because it transforms obstacles into opportunities for action. Instead of saying, "There's nothing I can do," they begin searching for even the smallest area where they still have influence. Sometimes that influence is your attitude. Sometimes it's your preparation. Sometimes it's your willingness to learn a new skill or try a different strategy. Even the smallest action creates momentum, while endless worry creates paralysis. Gratitude naturally grows from this mindset as well. When your attention constantly focuses on what you lack or what you cannot control, life feels unfair and overwhelming. But when you notice what remains within your reach, your health, your choices, your knowledge, your ability to improve, your relationships, and your opportunity to begin again, you discover that your life contains far more possibilities than your fears first suggested. Every challenge presents two paths. One path leads toward frustration over circumstances beyond your influence. The other leads toward purposeful action within your control. Mentally tough people repeatedly choose the second path. They understand that while they cannot control every event life brings, they can always control their response, their mindset, their effort, their integrity, their willingness to adapt, and the decisions they make each day, knowing that these choices ultimately shape the direction of their lives far more than any circumstance ever could.